Can you hear me? I don't wanna hear myself tonight. Yes, sometimes I fight so many battles that you'll never see. And I know you've been fighting too, just like me. There's no place we can go where our hearts stay home. Empty chairs and folded flags remain, but your love still runs through our veins. We tell the stories, keep the flame alive. You gave us reason to survive, and though we miss your touch, your spirit lifts us up. Heroes in the sky don't have to fly so high. We feel you every day, you're never far away. Heroes in the sky, your love still gets us by. We carry on your name, you're not so far away. Well, hold the line, we'll stand for you. For every soul that wore the truth, to every heart still left behind. You're the reason we keep time. The wives, the sons, the daughters cry, but strength is.
One thing I tell you that this challenge done taught me is just taking everything step by step. You look up that damn hill, seems like it's gonna take forever to get up there. But if you just look at a 45-degree angle, instead of looking straight up, taking one step at a time, keeping your same pace, not worrying about what's going on to your left or your right, promise you, you'll be up before you know it. Hey, we on day what? Bit 6. Nothing but 19 more to go. Can't wait. Let's go.
All right, welcome in, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back to another exciting episode.
Yeah, it gets a little heavy ever since I've added D'Angelo's voice at the end of that every time. Now it's not easy to listen to.
But hey, at the end of the day, we're all upright, we're ventilating, we're shining light on a new day, and because of that ability just to kind of put one foot in front of the next, we're here to kind of continue to talk about the future and where we're at currently. And
Yeah.
Today's episode, why don't you just give us a good word to our sponsors first, and then introduce our guest that's going to be joining us today that's here, and we'll get into the show.
Absolutely. So the first thing I do want to go over is just a legal disclaimer. If you're watching live, you saw the disclaimer. But this live media series is going to discuss mental health, traumatic loss, and suicide, which can be heavy and triggering topics. Here's in the Sky Foundation, Nautical Salute, Walk for Vets, Combat Kitchen, and this show, its co-host are not licensed mental health professionals, and nothing you hear should be taken as medical, counseling, or legal advice. We are only sharing stories of education and lived experience for awareness and support only. If you or someone you love is in crisis or thinking about suicide, please do not wait. In the United States, you can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or dial 911 immediately if there is an immediate emergency. If you are listening outside the U.S., please contact your local emergency number or suicide prevention hotline right away. You are not alone, help is available, and your life matters. And we want to thank our sponsors, the American Legion Post 135, for their generosity. They are the title sponsors for this year. The American Legion Post 135 is located in historic downtown Savannah at 1108 Bull Street. They are a member of the largest veteran service organization in the nation. They were founded on the principles of service to our veterans and to our community, state, and nation. Their membership is open to any veteran who has served honorably and to active duty service members. They are home to the local 1110, Betty Bombers, Brighter Day, Centennial Bean, and Lee Chai, and their bar is open to the public. The best part about this is if you are contemplating coming to Savannah and you need a public event space, contact our friends over at the American Legion and tell them Heroes in the Sky sent you, because that ballroom is available for rent. So, welcome in. We have a very special guest today, Shawn. We have Heather Hall with us. And like most of our guests, she has joined that exclusive club that nobody has to be a part of. And we applaud her for her courage for being here, because this is not easy for her to talk about. And we want to thank her for having the courage to come talk with us today. So, real quick, we'll get the titles out, because this is going to be a 2-part episode. We want your input as well. So if you're watching this, please, you can either get a hold of us while we're live, you can email us after we're live. Just let us know what you think of it, because tonight we'll carry a very heavy conversation, as typically these do. But then the second part of the show, we're going to talk about a little lighter topic about the how the halls of our legacy organizations, VFWs, American Legions, and any of those other ones that I may not have spoke about are those we're losing. They're losing. Suffering. Yeah, suffering because we're not getting the younger generation of veterans joining those ranks, and just a discussion about that. So first of all, we'll give Heather Hall a chance to introduce herself real quick. We'll do a brief introduction, and then we'll get right into the topic.
Hi, guys. I'm Heather. I live in Georgia. My husband and I lost our son to suicide in 2025. And no, this is not a club I ever wanted to be a part of, but I do want to get the word out and do what I can do to make this better, to where less people want to commit suicide, to where they actually see what the aftermath of the families, what we go through, and just anything to help.
And
yeah, go ahead.
It takes firsthand accounts just like yours and other families to achieve that purpose. We do that on a completely separate show called Deterrence Through Truth. So tonight we're just going to be talking about some of the aspects, but if you want to hear the deterrence and hear the families go into the real aftermath of suicide, tune into Deterrence Through Truth.
Yeah. So the first portion of today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about, from our perspective of how it feels in the aftermath, right? To like, what could I have done, or what were the signs, and why didn't I recognize things more, or just the reality of it's a plague. I mean, it's a plague of you see how much education's out there and awareness, but it still keeps happening, and in people that you wouldn't even think that it would happen, to, right? And in those moments, the effects of just the crippling effects, right? And then, quite frankly, it actually pisses me off that we have to continue to see families and veterans suffer. And, it's like, where does it stop? So I say we go ahead and get into it a little bit, and then we'll end up lightening this up at the end. So
absolutely. Yeah. And so, exactly what, if you hear pitter patter with feet, it's my dogs. So I apologize. And I have a really sensitive mic. So we're what Shawn is talking about is it does upset a lot of us that are in this field and that see people struggling and see the loss firsthand. Because here's the reality. A lot of the times we show up too late for our battle buddies. We show up too late for our friends, our loved ones. You know, we're quick to fill every pew in a church at a memorial ceremony.
Yeah.
Or we're quick to fill it all standing room only when you attend the memorial service in the cemetery. Right. And, you know, we have all the adjectives and the phrases, oh, he was a good one, or they were a good one, or I wish I would have known. Right. But in reality, if we would have been, you know, I think battle buddy checks are a play here, where even if you feel something is off, it doesn't have to be a lot. If you haven't heard from that person, and if you talk to that person every single day and it's been 2 or 3 days, like, pick up the phone, you know, make an effort, because it's the little things that make a difference in those that are struggling. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I can't ever express or even begin to understand, you know, Heather, how, you know, some of the things that you experience and feel. But, you know, are there things that, looking back, that you're like, wow, man, like there was this or that? Like, are there any of those that ever played through your mind?
Yeah, so like with him, it was sorry.
No, take your
okay.
time. Absolutely,
Yeah.
take your time.
So he was always like the type that would, like, just for example, like he always wanted to, he was go, 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 go. And towards the end, like plans were being made. When they say with suicide that they've planned this suicide, that everything's kind of good towards the end. They're making plans. They're happy. They're not letting you know anything. Like they're telling you they love you. Like, I'll call you later. I'll see you when you get home. Now that I look back on those things, like knowing how he was, like, and I know this is more for the not really talking about him tonight, but it's kind of how I have to get it out.
No, and still, absolutely, like, still,
Yeah.
you know, it's still breaking the silence, right? Talk about it. Yeah.
Right. He, you know, he was always go, 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 go. He'd make my husband mad because my husband would make him dinner, and he'd eat and he'd be gone. And then, like, a couple of days before, he was making plans to go to a concert with his best friend and her fiance that he lived with. And then we went to Easter service, and, you know, he would normally, if he had plans, he'd be by. And that day we went down because we work on the invitation team at church, and we were doing the people walking down to accept Jesus into their hearts. And I figured he was going to be gone by the time we got back over there, and he was there, and he hugged me and he lingered, and I got another hug and he lingered. And then the next day was a normal day, and it happened that evening, and I talked to him an hour before it happened, and he was just as fine and his normal self on the phone. So there are signs, like he had PTSD, abandonment issues with his biological father. My husband was in his life for the last 10 years of his life, so he did get to see what a father figure was supposed to be like. But he didn't never have a relationship that was very long because he had abandonment issues. Like, he didn't trust nobody. But right, when it comes to like the funeral and the visitation, oh, he was the sweetest thing in the world. And I'm just like, I don't know, you start to see the cycle being like, people are there, people aren't there. I don't expect everybody to remember my child like I do. I'm going to remember him every day of my life.
Right.
But like, just recently, me and my husband got tattoos to remember him. So it's just different phases. Like, I don't know. I honestly, did I ever expect him to do it? No. Mm-mm. And we had a bond, like we were just stuck together.
Right.
But as far as seeing
That's got it.
signs,
That's just got to feel like even more devastating when you know you have such a bond. And it's like, just tell me, like, you know, I do know from personal experiences of people that I've served with, and, you know, who have either, you know, from their families, and just, you know, when you deploy with people, you kind of get to know every part of them in a lot of ways. But it's like, it's not weak to talk about your feelings and to talk about what's going on in your head. You know, a lot of service members get to a point that we're like, it's this macho aspect. I should be able to handle everything and not be seen as a coward or something like that. When the last probably 10 years of in the last 10 years, just from service and everything like that, I actually had the opportunity to kind of speak about breaking the stigmas of concussions and letting your chain of command know that you weren't actually physically okay, and to pull yourself. It's okay to pull yourself out of the fight, because sometimes when you stay in the fight, when you're not right, you do more harm to everybody and potentially put other people at risk. So that, I do think normalizing how it's okay to seek help and not be judged is where we really need to get to. And but people worry about their jobs, they worry about their family, how are they going to look at me? And that's where I know we have to spend a lot of time is educating and training families and friends and service members to say, you know what, I'm not going to judge you for this. I'm so glad you've come to talk to me about this. We're going to figure this out together, and we're going to fight for you to be here, because that is the most important thing in anything that we do in life. I don't care if you're going to have bad days. I don't care if it's going to be messy at times. You're here, and that's what matters.
Absolutely.
Giving yourself the opportunity to fight, giving yourself the opportunity to learn how to heal, because that one of the things we're seeing is a lot with our war veterans, and even those veterans that went through heavy trauma. We look at it like, okay, if they can survive all that trauma, then it means, oh, they can survive anything. So we label them as almost indestructible. Like, oh, I survived. They survived this. They survived that. We shouldn't have to worry about that. No, that because they survived that stuff, that is the reason why we need to be checking on them more, asking about them, or, you know, making sure they're okay, trying to just keep in touch with them. And then, because all of us that have endured trauma in any type of functions, right? I can imagine how many nights I have spent crying in silence because I just didn't think anybody would understand. And for the longest time, I didn't think anybody else felt that way, and I felt I was all alone. So I can imagine if I felt that way, how many people currently still feel that way. And so that's the purpose of these conversations. Well,
isn't it even the ones that are still actually actively in treatment too? I mean, the VA has released staggering numbers about, you know, let's just take the veterans that they do report on statistically. It's like 70% of veterans that they track that, you know, die by suicide never even had sought treatment or were in the system of the VA yet.
Yeah.
That's shocking to me. And young.
Well, you know, earlier you made the comment about it makes you mad about all this and then the needing the help out there. Well, for instance, with him, it was, I don't remember if it was November of 24 or if it was February, Valentine's Day of 25, but he called the VA hotline and had to leave a message. And when I checked his phone after he passed away, someone had not contacted him until 2 days later. And I was like, Are you kidding me? I mean, that's a problem that needs to be fixed. Like, is there not enough people working, on the VA hotlines? Do you need to get the victims, the suicide victim, like families in there to help? Because we're going to actually understand what they're going through. Like, and I'm not saying that they don't have that on board or they're not doing that, but something needs to be fixed with it.
Right. Yeah, and because we're talking about the warriors themselves. We're talking about the warriors lost, the warriors fighting. But tonight, our focus is families, because the families is the ones left behind to carry the grief. They're left behind to carry the trauma, the grief, the sadness, all the range of emotions that flood in and day out. And it can be anything for these families that trigger this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what you don't see in our families is the mothers who leave their children's room exactly the same because they don't want to touch it. Because that's how they remember them. It's, thinking about your children every single day with the what ifs. But here's why I want to interject with the what ifs, because I have found studies, and the first thing we always hear when we hear someone has died by suicide is, how could they have willingly done that to their family? How could they have made that choice to do it to their family? There's actually a little scientific research behind this that sheds a little more light on what's really going on in their brain at the time. So they've done a lot of research on those brains that we've lost those warriors to suicide. And they have found a correlation with low activity in the prefrontal cortex. So those that have died by suicide, a good bit of them showed low activity and other changes in that prefrontal cortex. Why is that important? Well, the prefrontal cortex, this is your brain's executive system, right? This is your ability to reason and plan. This is your ability to, your impulse control. This is your ability to weigh the consequences of your actions. And this is making decisions under stress. So when there's low activity in that prefrontal cortex, our warriors are losing this ability for these executive functions. So when we talk to families and they say, well, how could they have done it? It just goes to show that their brain is sick, and that part of the brain is not functioning correctly. So they can't reason. They don't see the other perspective of how this is going to affect my mother, how this is going to affect my father, how this will affect my children. They don't see it. They literally cannot see it because of that low activity in the prefrontal cortex. And like that, cognitive control and decision making suffers. And that's why it seems like, that's why these decisions seem like the first thing you want to say is, well, why didn't they know their family would hurt this way? They can't see past their own perspective. And it's been shown scientifically that they cannot. And that's what we really want to tell our families, your families like yours, that when these prefrontal cortex regions have that low activity, right? They can't imagine or see what others may feel. Right. So they don't know that decision they're about to make. They can't see how it's going to affect you. Right. They can't see how
it's blinders.
Correct. It is. It is blinders. That your brain's braking system, the impulse control and making sound decisions, that entire braking system in your brain is not working. So
another thing, real quick, because I'm speaking about the VA and things like that, like we're saying, here's some of the accurate numbers that just the VA from a percentage standpoint and the age ranges, which most of our younger veterans are falling into this piece. But Yeah, in 2023, it rose after 2023, but in 2023, 61% of veterans who died by suicide in 2023 were not receiving VA healthcare in the last year of their lives or at all. The suicide rate per 100,000 veterans was 35.2, marking the report's highest level dating back, to 2018. Now, we know that it's a data pool that they gather and what they consider veterans and how veterans have died by suicide, right? Suicide rates are elevated. Now, here's something that we have known are elevated for veterans who are aged 18 to 34.
Mm-hmm.
That is the highest age demographic of veterans who have died by suicide. And that's just the ones that are reported on from the VA. Firearms continue to be the leading cause of death for a veteran who dies by suicide at 74%.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the other thing. Young veterans, they're used to handling weapons.
Mm-hmm.
It's a comfort. They know it. And I mean, I want the weapon in the future to be seeking help.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And having their support system have the education and the training as well to say, you know what? I need to be an active listener and participant in their success and their treatment in their everyday life. And not until they feel like they're better.
Yeah. So, and here's another thing. You just made a very common point. Most of these veterans are very, very familiar with how the weapons operate, their firing systems, everything about those weapons. They are extremely familiar with those weapons. So the problem we're having is not they have access to the weapons. The problem is another variable that we just talked about. Their brain, a portion of their brain is not functioning correctly. So because that executive branch of the brain's not functioning correctly, they make those impulsive decisions, and then we have the death by suicide.
In the aftermath. Yeah.
And then we talk about the aftermath, which is exactly why we bring in families like yours. Because people need to understand that just because you see, if they saw you and your husband out, they don't see what happened behind closed doors, like the trauma, the overcoming of just emotions, like you talked, just driving down the road and you hear something just triggers you and you think about your child. People don't see that part of the aftermath and the grief.
Mm-hmm. I will go back on a few seconds ago, but you're right. The loved ones, their brains aren't working to know, hey, this is how my mom's going to be affected, or my child, or my brother, or my sister, or whoever. Because for my son and I to have a relationship like we did, he would have never done anything purposely to hurt me. Right. Like, he wouldn't have just done that and said, okay, my mom's going to be okay. Like, I know for a fact he wouldn't have done that. I know for a fact that, like, he wasn't right. I'm not saying he wasn't right in his head, but I know that there were things going on in there and things he just couldn't handle anymore, and so much stressors in today's life. And again, back to, sorry, but the VA not helping him like he needed. Like, I mean, he had a support system. Like, we were there when he needed us. Like, when he did let us know, like, he might be contemplating it. But, and the gun thing, he's been hunting since he was younger. Like, and he was taught the right way to use the gun. So that situation right there, to him going into the military and him having expertise on guns, like, and it wouldn't have mattered if we took that gun away from him because he knew how to get another gun. Yeah. So I don't blame it on the gun, because gun's not what did it. So I'm not against guns.
I just think veterans in general, they know that it's
right.
Typically surefire, no pun, like way of saying
that.
Okay, I know
that's the most.
Going to happen.
That's the most direct way to achieve the mission. That's the
Yeah.
most direct way to achieve the means. And we look at that, and because I like to say I like that cone of destruction, or that funnel where you can only see your emotional pain. That's when we find ourselves in that tunnel. The only way for someone to pull you out of that tunnel, and I asked me how I know, because I was 20 seconds from pulling a pistol out of a backpack myself, and not being here as well, and somebody stopped me. The only reason I'm still here is because somebody was physically there to stop me.
Right.
That's it.
Mhm.
If I would have had to rely on somebody on the phone, no, wouldn't have happened. You know,
Heather, like with you and your husband, like, which we love you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys again. So we're going to figure this out when we can see each other again. But,
I think
you know,
November.
November, yeah, we're still planning that. So things are getting a little crazy right now. So the battle of scars and belly laughs. So we're stay tuned for that still. But for you as a mom, and what are some things that you feel could help other moms or other loved ones, not deal with the grief or anything like that, but from an education standpoint, like, what do you think could help other family members in this regards to kind of combat some of this?
So with me, because I get asked all the time, how are you so strong? You went through all this. And I'm like, I'm going to be honest, it's my faith. Because if I did not have my faith and I didn't have my church family when this happened, y'all would have had to worry about me being on that street right there, because he was my baby. Like, I don't care that he was 24 years old. Like, and my other children are the same. Like, I love them all the same, but you have a different love for each child. And
Yeah.
I've had several friends like, hey, can you talk to so-and-so because they're showing these signs? So I don't know directly what education like they need to find, but if they start seeing signs, they need to start digging in, because there's red flags and they come out right away. We just don't pay attention to them.
right.
Because like I said, this was not, I never expected him to do it. Like, it happened.
Some of those red flags could be what's right in front of you.
Right.
What if it's the ones that are the happiest? What if it's the ones that are enjoying, you see them starting to enjoy everything around them, laughing more. And we'll talk about this because this is the reality in some cases, that you would, there's no way of knowing they were contemplating this decision from how they behave themselves around people.
Right.
Yeah, it's a complete shock. That's why, because you see them out and about, you see them laughing, you think that person's great. Maybe this is the person that's always checking on you. Maybe this is the person who's always looking after everybody else, and then they make this decision. That's when yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So that was with him. Everybody that I've got to be family with now, where his military family, he got other people out of those situations. Like, it didn't matter what kind of day he was having. Like, it's what you just said. Like, he was making sure everybody else was taken care of.
Right. Yeah, and we got some comments in here. We do like to interact with our guest. Thank you, Kelly, for coming in. Thank you, Michael, and Katie.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Katie.
Katie, if you're not aware, one of the programs that Heroes in the Sky offers it's nationwide. If you have lost a warrior to suicide and you feel lost in that grief process, or where that journey is taking you, and you need somebody to talk to, just peer support. It says everything on our website says they're not licensed mental health counselors, but it is a panel of family members that have directly lost warriors to suicide, and they are willing to help others that through that grief. So Katie's on that panel. Thank you, Katie, for what you give back. But yeah, Katie said that a lot of the times our families are looking for resources during this tragic loss, and even up to the moment when it happens, some of the times the families feel helpless because you can offer the resources and you can offer the resources, but what if there's roadblocks there, and what if the resources don't pan out? And then when it happens, you start back off at square one. So absolutely. Did you ever have something like that where, yeah, you were always a resource to him, but were there other resources other than like the VA where he had access to that just didn't work? Are you aware of any of those like that?
I guess when he got out of the Marines in 23, I guess when he got out in 23, they gave him a packet. It had all this information. I didn't see it till after he passed when I was going through his things. Me personally, no, I did not know all that was out there. And I was like, I wish there was. Like, I wish there was a way, like, you know, in the end, they're giving them their go away packages, basically. And they put that kind of information in there, but they don't stress on it. They don't say how important it is. Hey, we want to be here for you. I think that maybe it wouldn't hurt with them being as young as most of them are when they're getting out now. Like, can you not involve the families? Like, there are families that care. Like,
yeah.
So no, I honestly, and I wished I would have.
Yeah, and I think that's something that really should change. Is we harp on this just because I've been in the service and I know what I know what that process looks like to chapter, you're not chapter out, but out process the military and become
to end that chapter of your life, though.
Yeah.
That's, I mean,
yeah. We're ending that chapter.
Right.
Now we're going to the civilian sector. The one thing that we talk about, they put a lot of emphasis on how to write a resume or this other stuff, right? But why aren't we putting the emphasis on identifying institutions outside of the military that take the insurance you might have, or these are where you can go, you can start, hey, you're getting out in 6 months, whatever. They know your retention NCOs know when you're getting out. They know you're not staying. Hey, here's a list. This is who to call if you're having trouble with your family. This is who to call if you're having trouble with your kids or you're having marriage issues. Give them the leads before they get out, and so they don't feel so lost.
So on that note right there, they have, like, think about it. You get out of jail, you got rehab to go to. You get out of whatever else, you got rehab to go to. Why do they? And they may have something, because I haven't been able to figure out all the researching and everything so far, but why don't they have something like that for the veterans? Like, don't put them straight out, straight home with the family, straight back into civilization. Because my son said when he come home, Mom, I don't know, I don't like this world. Like, because when he got out, my husband had him an interview with an electric company in town. When he came home, 2 days later, he had the interview, he got the job. So we didn't give him time to sit around and think about things, like, but that's not the case with everybody. Like, and it still happened with us. So I really wish that they wouldn't just put them back in civilization, because for 4 years, he was like a robot. And I don't mean that rudely, but he was like a robot. Like, you have structure, you have a schedule, and you don't have that when you get back out and you go into civilization.
Yeah. Well, that purpose and identity is ripped away. It's like we say it all the time, but the simple fact that in the military, you are told what uniform to be in, where you need to be, what you need to be doing. This is what's expected of you. The blueprint of how to succeed, they give it to you. But
yet you're an adult. You're an adult child. Now let's be honest. You are an adult child.
Yes.
Mhm.
while
Yep.
you're serving the military.
Yep.
Yep.
You are. And so you have that blueprint, and then it's time for you to separate. And here's another thing I like to talk about too. A lot of our elevated risk for suicide come in the discharges where they are either they're forced early, like they got injured, or for whatever reason they could not continue their service as their goal. Hey, my goal is to serve this long. I've always wanted to do this, and that chapter ends early due to injury or any other thing. So when you have that disruption and you have that forced exit, it it is a direct correlation to elevated suicide risk.
Mhm.
I mean, I have spent the time and I have developed a reintegration program. It's going to take a lot of money, and the fob has to be built in order to do this, or portions of it. But most of these service members, they go in anywhere between 17 to the average age of joining now, like 24. It's like the average between 17 and 24 now, and they have raised the age of a 42-year-old, going in brand new, right? But if they spend 6 months going through basic training and AIT or their job school, their MOS school, if they spend 6 months learning how to do the job and be the soldier or service, like just a service member, they need at least that amount of time to learn how to not be a service member, a soldier, a sailor, and to learn what being an adult really looks like outside of the military and the confines, and say, okay, I'm not going to have health insurance at all unless I find a job that provides it. And then guess what? As a family, it's going to go from this to this. Like that's a huge stressor alone. Understanding that you didn't do 20 years or you didn't medically retire. So guess what? You get nothing unless you put into your thrifty savings. So there has to be the transition piece of where you learn how to be an adult, you learn how to be a civilian, and you learn how to stand on your own and rely specifically on people who now control 100% of your fate through corporations or blue collar. There's a huge reason that most veterans, when they get out, they end up in blue collar trades and stuff, or work for themselves because they can't assimilate into the civilian culture because people don't get them.
Yep.
Well, you spend all this time building the warriors or the soldiers or the airmen or the Marines, the service members, whatever member of the armed forces you served in. They spent adequate time teaching them how to the trade of their service, their job, their craft, their expertise. They put that time into them. But that's the problem on the back end. We're not putting those efforts back into them, trying to teach them how to be a civilian again. Because
go ahead. Sorry.
One of some of the easiest tasks that you would think an adult could do: file your taxes, stuff like that. Stuff that the military basically held your hand and did for you, or someone did it for you. Just those little, being an adult and making your own decisions people laugh about that, but in the military, there's not a lot of opportunity to make your own decisions. They tell you what you're going to do. So you have to learn how to make sound decisions on your own. And we're not doing that for our veterans getting out. We're failing at that part.
I agree.
But I think we also in part of that transition, I think that we also need to bring the families into it and give them a crash course training that's several weeks to a month or so long, at least, to say, hey, your loved one is, but they have to accept that this is actually the reality there too. right? So not the family member, but and maybe the family member and also the service themselves is they're going to lose a whole identity that they've spent 4 years, 18, 20, 25, 30 years building. They're not going to know how to be okay or exist without, you know, they're going to have this dark humor. They may self-destruct. They may isolate because they're not going to know who the hell they are.
Right.
You've taken away, either by choice, their decision, and most of it is probably decisions they're made so they can take care of their family in a different light and be around, right?
Right.
So they need to be as integral, and I say this all the time, the family is the most important element to any veteran success.
Correct.
I agree.
There's a reason
Sorry, I get a
behind
little
that
passionate.
too. No, and I do too, because Heroes in the Sky, we serve to honor the warriors' loss, but Heather and all the other families that interacted with us know our central core mission is the families. And this is why. When we lose a warrior to suicide, that warrior, we have to keep their memory alive. But the families now carry the elevated risk for suicide. Who talks about the fact that a mother that's lost a child is 2 times more likely to die by suicide because she lost a child? Or the spouse of a loved one, the intimate partner of a loved one that dies by suicide has now joined a club that they are 3 times more likely to die by suicide because they lost an intimate partner. No one talks about the realities of the aftermath of what suicide does to families. The children, no one talks about the children in some of these homes and these families that have constant moves because they're a military family. So every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, they're in a different school, different friends. They don't have the same people, right? It's hard for them to even make friends and feel comfortable. And if that child is suffering, the example that they've seen their entire life, because the stigma is they didn't see anyone asking for help. So if mom or dad's not asking for help because there's a stigma surrounding mental health, how likely is that child to ask for help? And these children are exposed to this. That trauma that their parents dealt with is transferred to the children. So I say all this because the families have to be the center and core values, because the families is where your prevention. That the families is the prevention. They are the ones carrying the scars. They are the ones dealing with the grief and the loss. So to reduce our family's elevated risk, we give the opportunity for Heather and families, so many other families, to tell their story, talk about their warriors, talk about how they healed, so they felt heard. So you feel heard. You feel like your input is wanted. You're not invisible, because we're so quick. I mean, we already have a problem in society where when we lose warriors to suicide, they try to sweep it under the rug, or they don't talk about it because it's a tough conversation. It's even worse for the families, because after that first 6 months or whatever that time period is, when, right after the churches are filled, the grave sites are standing room only, and after all that wears off in 6 months, what's left for the families? Who's calling the families to check on them? Who's making sure they're okay? Who's making sure mom's not contemplating suicide because she just lost her child? Who's doing that? And so Heroes in the Sky is trying to come in and be that function. Advocate for our families because we feel that's important.
All right, brother. We have to get ready to go to a commercial break. And when we come back, we have a really nice, it's a heavy video, but it's about the words. So if you're watching, I want you to actually just close your eyes and listen to the words, and just think about, what we can all do as our part in society to kind of continue to also reassure veterans and their families and their loved ones that they are important and they matter. So if we can, let's go ahead and go to commercial break. Which one do you want to do?
I got it. I got it.
Okay, you got it. And then also when we come back, we're going to talk more about why veterans are leaving some of the posts.
Our legacy organizations. Absolutely. All right. So hang tight with us. Let's go to commercial break, and we'll be right back with Heather and Shawn.
We've been taught to keep it buried deep. Hold the line, don't let them see. Say I'm fine, just play the part while it's tearing at your heart. But the truth don't fade when it's locked away. It gets louder every single day. And the strongest ones you've ever known were never meant to stand alone. If you're feeling it now, don't look away. There's power in the words you're scared to say. We're breaking the silence together right now. No more I'm fine, just to get through the crowd. We speak it out loud, we stand our ground. There's strength in the truth we finally found. You don't have to carry it all on your own. There's a place right here, you've got a home. If you're ready to talk, we're ready to hear. We're breaking the silence and we're still here. We're still here. Oh. This is for the ones who held it in, wore the weight beneath their skin. For the families trying to see what the silence used to be. We don't need perfect, we don't need clean. We need real, we need seen. Every story, every voice has the power to give someone a choice. Yeah, the hardest step is letting it show, but healing starts when we let it be known. We're breaking the silence together right now. No more hiding the hurt, no more backing down. We lift each other, we don't let go. We fight for the ones who don't yet know. If you're ready to talk, we're already near. You're not alone, we're still here. This is how it changes. One voice becomes two. Two voices become a movement. We don't wait anymore. We don't hide anymore. We speak. We're breaking the silence together tonight, turning pain into purpose, wrong into right. Through every story, through every tear, we're building a reason to stay right here. If you're reaching out, we won't let go. We'll stand beside you, we'll help you hold the line when it feels like it's too much to bear. We're breaking the silence together. We're there, still here, still fighting, still speaking together.
Whoa.
Welcome back.
I'm telling you. Like, hold on, I got
So
It's a good thing they couldn't see. They can't see us turn, right?
The story behind that is because this is such a heavy conversation, and a lot of the times these people listening, it's very difficult. You need a little break, right? So I wanted to do a commercial video where we started highlighting community, those in our community that making an impact, making a difference, making this possible. So I wanted to feature our community partners in that. And I wanted everyone to see what our community partners was doing. Everyone knows what Nautical Salute. You see Nautical Salute and Heroes in the Sky pretty much in tandem together because we partner with a lot of initiatives. But I wanted people to see what being on the boat with a bunch of veterans look like, and the power that has, or what our friends at Team Savannah for Veterans who build ramps or who help veterans, do construction projects that they can't do. And they're just all our women veteran organizations, what they do for our communities. And I felt watching that, every time I watch it, I feel proud of everyone who is aligned with us. And that they are the reason we're able to sit behind this microphone and talk. Heather and families that have lost warriors are the reason we're able to sit here and make a measurable impact, because people believe in us and they trust in what we're doing. And I wanted that commercial video to be a reflection of that.
Yeah. So Heather, I don't know if have you seen that before? Because I know occasionally you tune in or whatnot, but
yeah, that was the first time I saw that video. I've seen the other videos, but that's the first time I've seen that one. I really, it means a lot when y'all do the things that you do.
Well, it means more to me when I get to feature family that I'm not in this alone. I'm not in this fight alone. I have families that trust us, that back us. I have organizations that back us, and we want to make sure those organizations are heard just as well as us. We're not trying to hog the spotlight.
Right.
All right. It's time to roll into the infamous reasons why veterans are leaving the.
Yep. Yeah. So let's talk about something a little lighter. It's not to say it's not an issue that our communities are still facing. Our legacy veteran organizations, our legions, our VFWs, and any of those other ones that we're not mentioning, we've seen a decline in membership. And a lot of it is this younger generation of veterans. There's a disconnect. And whatever that disconnect is, it's evident, because if we look at, these VFW halls and these American Legion halls, they once held they still do hold the weight of our World War II heroes, Korea veterans, Vietnam warriors, our OEF. They were once the lifelines in the organizations for these members. And right now, if you visit, I'm an active member of a VFW post, a life member, and I've attended many American Legion meetings, and those organizations are still very impactful in our community. They're still making a difference. They're still doing things to make a measurable impact in veterans and families' lives, but we're still seeing a decline in their active numbers.
Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because here's the thing. I am a life member of the VFW. I'm a life member of the AMVETS. I'm a member of the American Legion. And I'm also a post-service officer for the American Legion. And I'll tell you firsthand, just from where I'm at and where I came from in Virginia, where I signed up for my life membership in the VFW, one, a lot of the facilities are still smoking in establishments. There's a big change happening across the board. But when you focus your revenue generation 100% off of alcohol to the bar sale and just gambling, when that is the lifeline of the organization,
Yeah.
Younger veterans don't have the disposable income. Two, a lot of them who have deployed overseas, have issues when it comes to burn pits and smoking and things like that. So there's also been studies showing that like less and less veterans smoke now in a certain age demographic than their older counterparts.
Right.
And if they do it, it's typically socially. But when are we going to start having programs ran out of these organizations and facilities versus, can I just rent this hall out to raise some money? How about let's create some programs where the people come in and provide support to the members and do something that's not just focused on drinking and gambling.
Yeah. But to be fair here, that's not a reflection of all VFW or American Legion posts.
No.
The post I'm a life member of, there's a designated smoking area outside, but in Georgia, most buildings now you can't smoke inside. Most of them have that restriction now. But a lot of the things too, we talk about VFW membership. We look back at, back in 1992, these are just estimated now. I'm not an expert. Okay. So, but right in 1992, there was like a peak record of almost 2.1 million members in our VFWs. Right. And now they're estimating about 1.5 million. So about half of its peak from 30 years ago. And, and we got to look at the average age too. Like one of the biggest hurdles I see is younger veterans don't want to join an organization where a majority of the membership is in a different age generation. They feel like they won't be heard, or they feel like they won't relate to the older generation of veterans.
But it's also because a lot of the older generations are stuck in their ways and say, we've always done it like this. We're not going to change. We're going to continue to do it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, except for it is broken because membership is declining and the programs and the resources are either very minimal or they don't exist in most of them.
Yeah.
Like what are some programs that, and trust me, when I say I'm not bashing this, I'm actually identifying some of this as needs for changes, so there are resources so when veterans do feel like they want to join a civic organization or a national organization that brings community and camaraderie, they can choose one that fits their need, right, for themselves and their families. But what actual programs are ran and operated out of the posts that you're a life member of that you actively participate in, program wise?
So they do the honor programs for the teachers. They do the honor for the teacher of the year, first responder of the year. They do the pinship programs, the essay programs, Patriots pin, stuff like that. And I'm very blessed to be part of a post that is very active in the community. Like my post commander and the post, you will see them often in the community helping other veterans. Like you'll see them at events. You'll see them actively being there, being present for the veterans. And I think a lot of our organizations, I think maybe because a lot of these legacy organizations, their membership is the older generations, and maybe it's a capacity or capability issue type thing, where if it were younger generations of veterans, I think if we could get more younger generations of veterans in the doors of our legacy organizations and get them involved, I think that would immediately increase the community outreach as well, because I think that's more boots on the ground. And a lot of our younger veterans what do they need? what is the one thing they lost? Purpose. Right.
Here's the top 6 right now. I'm gonna read off the top 6 reasons that veterans are not joining civic or national organizations related to veterans, or they're leading. Number 1, perception of outdated culture and image. Many younger veterans see local posts as smoke-filled buildings, and now I said this already, but I'm reading actual data. With bingo nights, pool tables, and a focus on older veteran stories, stars and stripes, they associate them with nostalgic, sometimes exclusionary atmospheres that doesn't reflect their own values or interests. The image is reinforced by outdated marketing and events that don't appeal to younger veterans. Number 2, the lack of relevance to modern veterans' needs. Traditional VSOs often emphasize community service, benefit assistance, camaraderie, but younger veterans are seeking a more active, hands-on program. Like I asked you specifically, what programs are they running there for you as a veteran? And everything is community-based. Because guess what? That is what a lot of ours is even here. And we have a beautiful facility and a very active facility. We're focused on what's going on out here and trying to bring more people in. But if we turned that attention into our local posts and created programs where those veterans could get some of the services that they need and the families could get some of the services they need in that facility, things would change. Number 3, exclusionary attitudes towards newer conflicts. You're in a new war. Okay. It's not what we went through. Number 4, gender and inclusivity concerns. Your veteran, I can tell you right now of 5 female veterans that we have that I actively see in our organization. Majority of them are men, older males. Declining veteran population overall. There's a huge decline in the veteran population. A lot of it is because of suicide, but there's also people wanting to separate and other health issues, right? And number 6, preference for newer, more modern organizations, things that are active. That's why we're seeing such a large uptick in like things like Nautical Salute, what we do, things like what you're doing as programs, right? With Heroes in the Sky, things like Home Base, where it's veteran focused and it's trying to get them to touch grass, as we like to say.
Yeah. Well,
it's harder to hide.
Yeah. Direct peer support.
It's harder to hide when you're actively working on something than it is to just show up once a month to a meeting.
Yeah. Well, direct peer support is huge.
Yep.
Peer. You shift the focus from exactly like you said. You shift the focus from everything going into the community to fixing it from the inside first, and then letting that focus benefit the community. So, and let's, to be fair, I do want to say this caveat here. We are not talking about every VFW post. We're not talking about every American Legion post. We're not talking about every DAV post. So that is not what we're doing here. I do not want to put the wrong context out there. I am a member of our VFW Post 660, a life member here in Savannah, and I'm very pleased with that post and how their community projects and the support they offer, and the command team is always there to listen. So if you're listening to this, we are talking about problems generally seen in these organizations. We are not talking about the post that you may be a part of. We're not talking about the American Legion that you may attend. That's not what we're doing here. That is not the intent. I want to put that out there right away. We are not bashing.
He said Shawn came in hot, so
we are not bashing any VFW specific VFW, American Legion, DAV, any of those posts. We're just generally speaking why the numbers are declining and how and what as organizations in our community we can do better to bring in younger generations, to make our younger generations want to be a part of these legacy organizations. That's what this conversation is about.
Well, and to be fair as well, anybody that wants to complain, bitch and moan, whatever you want to call it, right, and only bring up problems that they see, whether it's in organizations, and aren't willing to be part of a solution and bring suggestions that one they're willing to take on, because that's the reality. I can be the good idea fairy all day long, but if I'm going to bring something forward,
right,
it's because it's something I'm willing to step up and take part in.
And here's the other part: what people, if you're not familiar with VFW's organizations and most American Legions, and I know the structure is a little different, but I know within the VFW they have house committees, and they have house committee meetings that the public is encouraged to attend. They say, hey, if you have a question, if you have a concern with the post or something in this vicinity, right, this facility, you are encouraged to attend these house meetings and voice your opinion and put it before the house committee so something can be done about it. So that's the other side of this. If you're gonna sit on that side and complain about the post, or the post isn't doing this, the post isn't doing that, but like Shawn said, if that's all you have and you're not trying to come on the backside and attend the committee meetings to suggest improvements, you're just as part of the problem as well. I mean, you have to do, if you're going to complain about something, have a plan to go to the house committee of one of these organizations to fix what you're complaining about, to make it better. You know, the goal is to make it better. It's not to bash anybody. It's to identify the shortcoming or what may be the problem and take it to the right people, that house committee, whatever organization, and say, hey, this is the problem we have as a post.
As a culture. Yeah.
As a culture, what are we going to do about it? That's the thing though. You have so many people that want to cry and complain about what they don't like, or this, and this. But are you going to the post?
They're not volunteering. They're not showing up for their fellow veterans. They're just there to be like, what about me? Poor me. And that's not what this world, and that's not what we're doing here on this podcast. It's not what we're doing in the public, eye. I met Heather. It'll be February, will be a year coming up. I mean, and like,
it was October.
She got to come November.
Heather has been very active. Right. Yes, she has came
October, November.
She's came to several of our events, at least 2 or 3 years in the sky events, nautical salute. Events.
Nautical salute in November when we did that. And it's one of those things that it's like time flies. It literally feels like February. It was like, where does time go, right? But the fact is, you are willing to be vulnerable and show up so that somebody else who may or may not have gone through it can connect, right?
Right.
When people, 100%. And it's crazy how many people that we walk around every day in our society who have gone through something similar that you never even know about.
Oh, no.
Because they're not comfortable with expressing or exposing that piece of vulnerability for them. But I'm going to tell you, for the people that do and that we associate with, I'm blessed to get to know about their loved one.
Oh yeah.
I wish I'd have got to meet them.
Right.
But by knowing some of the silly things that happened and hearing the stories, and like, I can envision myself. Wow, I would have loved to have that young Marine under my wing, just to see what you can get out of them in a good way,
Yeah, and so too, you talk about. I want to ask the question: what are these posts, these legacy organizations? Are they doing anything to bring in other organizations to make impacts? because I can tell you, and Heather came, our VFW post brought in Heroes in the Sky to do a battle vest dedication to raise awareness and to
Yep.
get this word out there. They are active in the community and pushing these programs and the advocacy and the education. They're an active part of that because they brought us in to do it. How many
Right.
posts do we have? I'm not the numbers on. I'm a
Ours.
numbers guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And vets.
And that's post 2006.
Yep. We did a battle vest dedication there. So you also have to highlight the organizations who are being active in their communities and bringing in other organizations to make a difference, and not just relying on the good old boy system or the biggest one I always get is the country club, right? I'm not going to join that because it feels like a country club. And to be fair, there are organizations that have that feel, but I think the more these organizations become involved with community partners and they put themselves out there, that sets a good tone and good optic window in for our younger veterans to want to join the organization. Because our post, I'm very proud to say we have the age demographics vary, but we have a good following of younger veterans that are joining. Our last meeting, we had 4 younger veterans that joined the ranks. And so I am seeing more younger veterans join our ranks at our post.
Yeah.
And hopefully that we can continue that trend in our other organizations as well.
Yeah. I mean, I joke a little bit with ours at the American Legion, where they're like, okay, you've got 6 Nautical Salute members that have joined this post. And I said, exactly. And I'm going to have more join because we're taking over. Jokingly saying that, right? But, looking at it is, I want my fellow veterans and their families to have a place that they do feel welcome, that they do feel heard, that they do feel like, okay, how are we going to show up for our other fellow veterans and families?
Yep.
And not just be about, all right, who got 50-50? Yeah, that's
right.
Well, that's like me being part of the family that comes. Like, it's not that we want to be a part of this group or this family or this part of our life now, but it's kind of nice to come somewhere and others understand what you're going through.
Right. And you're greeted every time we see you. We greet you and excited to see you and your husband. Yeah, because it's important that our community feels tied to us, wanting to come to our events. We need more families like that, whether the family be one that's lost a warrior to suicide, that you could just be a family of an active duty or veteran or whatever that wants to get more involved in your community. And you could come to our events and you could attend our events and do the same thing. You don't have to be a family that's lost a warrior to this. You can just be a family a veteran or active duty family that wants to make a difference, and come to the events and make yourself known and learn about the organizations and what their values are and why it's important. We all know why it's important, why we do what we do, but we love the opportunity to tell others why we value this so much.
Right.
We want you to be a part of this movement. We want you to be a part of the change that we're trying to have take place.
Right.
Your voice is heard and should be heard, and absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, we're about at the 9-minute mark. I think we've had a fantastic episode. I want to thank all of our comments, all of our viewers that came in and watched, left comments for us. Those are really important for us, and they make us feel like we're heard as well. So we appreciate that. The biggest thing is, if you were one of the things we do on this is before we close out, we give you the scenario. So I know Heather's probably watched a few of these. So we'll let you start. The scenario is, what would you tell somebody that is watching this episode 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? They feel alone. They feel isolated. They feel like they don't belong. What would be your message to them?
That they're not alone, that this world is a much better place with them in it. That, like with me, I now put out, like, I'll put a post on Facebook and I'll be like, it doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter if I need to come to your house. Message me. I'll give you my number. I'm here, because they need to know that there is somebody in their corner, that if they need somebody to talk to, it doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter if they got to come to the house. It doesn't matter if you just tell them, hey, my door's always open.
Right.
Yeah.
Shawn, spotlight's on you, sir. We always ask, we ask the same question.
I'm not gonna deviate from my answer. My answer is, it's not weak to seek help. You're not weak. You're not less of a man or a woman because you need help.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, if I can't show up for you the way you need to, because I don't know, please tell me. Just let me know how I can also show up, because half the time we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We are here. We're willing to make a difference. We're not going to stop. You are worthy and worth being here. And we love you.
Absolutely. And I'm going to end the same way I always do. I'm going to tell you the hard truth. If you are contemplating suicide and you think that is the way out, I need you to listen, because that is not the way out. The best way, the one thing when you die by suicide, the first thing that happens is all that grief, all that trauma, everything you were running from, all those demons transfer directly to the ones you love the most, the ones you swore to protect. So if you want to actively make a difference in your in those ones that you love the most life, and you want to protect them, the one thing you need to do is stay. And here's why. We always, at some point in this episode, we give you the real numbers, right? 44 veterans a day. Now, every suicide is going to affect a minimum of 5 family members and 135 community members. That's veteran suicide alone is going to affect 30,000 people a day, 208,000 people a week, and over 10,800,000 people a year. So if you want to look out for your family, if you want to protect those ones you love the most, and you are listening to me and you are struggling in a dark place, taking your life is not the answer.
Right.
You're doing quite the opposite when you die by suicide. That's what I need you to hear. So I thank everybody for being here. We couldn't do this without families like Heather and all the other families and experts and guests that we have and continue to have. I want to thank our audio engineer in the back. We couldn't do this without Rich back there. No one sees his face very often, but he's a genius when it comes to this stuff. He supports us. He's a brother, and without him, we couldn't do what we do and be, with the efficacy we do it. So thank you, Rich. Thank you to all our supporters. Thank you to all those organizations that allow us to continue doing what we're doing. And so, Shawn, you want to go ahead and tell them when the next time we're going to be on, so if they want to catch the next one?
So we are every 2 weeks, in essence, second Thursday and fourth Thursday of the month. That is the Breaking the Silence Together, the Aftermath of Suicide. And you can also catch this guy right here on Sundays prior to the second and fourth Sunday as well, on the podcast here. But it's a different one. It's go ahead and let them know what that turns.
So on the second and fourth Sundays, it's a different tone. We do give you the warning up front. It's a much deeper conversation about suicide loss, the aftermath. It goes into the family's personal struggles. It is very difficult to listen to, but it's very needed. We have just added a new co-host, John Ring, who fully understands the aftermath of what suicide does to families, as well as he unfortunately just lost his son this year. And so he is bringing a level of emotion and grief that I cannot understand because I've never dealt with it. And so that's the second and fourth Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern time. John Ring and I are the hosts for that, and we interview families and let them talk. That starts with the upbringing of their warriors before they joined, personality, and then after the loss, and what the aftermath looks like. So yeah, that's Deterrence to Truth, second and fourth Sundays. We ask that you share help share and circulate, share, circulate, so we can reach more families. So,
All right.
So it's been fantastic having you wonderful people on here tonight.
Yeah.
Appreciate each one of you. We're going to close out. Our great audio engineer is going to play our outro, and we're going to Heather hang tight in the studio there for us. But now the outro you're about to watch is what Shawn was expecting earlier for the commercial break. So it is a little heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy, but it shows you why we do what we do and why we're so passionate about it. So thank you, everybody from Heroes in the Sky. Thank you for Nautical Salute. Thank you, everybody from Heather Hall and her family. And the last thing I want to say is, if you're listening to this and you want to become a guest on this show, you want to tell your story, you want to feel heard, just email james@heroesinthesky.org or Shawn@heroesinthesky.org and let us know, and we will gladly tell your stories as well. Take us away.
I used to think healing was supposed to sound heroic, like victory speeches, like medals hitting a wooden table, like somebody finally saying, "You made it." But healing sounded more like silence, like sitting in the truck too long after work, because home felt safer when the engine was still running, like staring at a grocery store aisle, trying to remember why your heart suddenly started racing, like waking up at 2:13 in the morning, sweating through memories you never asked to keep. See, they trained us to survive the battlefield, but nobody really taught us how to survive ourselves afterward. Nobody talked about how trauma follows you home wearing civilian clothes, how it hides in fireworks, crowded rooms, empty bottles, divorce papers, missed phone calls, and the sentence, "I'm fine." Especially that sentence. I know veterans who carried entire teams on deployment, but struggle to carry groceries inside the house now. Men and women who could navigate chaos overseas, but can't navigate their own thoughts when the room gets quiet. And still, they wake up. Still, they fight. That matters. You hear me? That matters. Because hope isn't always loud. Sometimes hope is just making the appointment, answering the phone, talking for the first time, saying, "No, I don't think I'm okay." That's courage too. Maybe even the purest kind. See, the world loves the image of the warrior, but healing asks something harder. It asks the warrior to become human again, to let people in, to trust again, to stop apologizing for wounds nobody can see. And that process, it's ugly sometimes. There are setbacks, bad nights, anger that shows up uninvited, days where depression feels heavier than body armor ever did. But there are also moments, small moments, where light gets through. A kid's laugh, a sunrise after a sleepless night, brothers and sisters sitting around a table finally telling the truth,
A stranger saying, "Me too." That's where healing begins. Not in pretending the trauma never happened, but in realizing the trauma doesn't get to write the ending. You survived war. You survived loss. You survived becoming someone you barely recognized. Now comes the hardest mission of all, believing you deserve peace too. And maybe peace doesn't mean forgetting. Maybe peace is learning that your scars are not proof you're broken. They're proof you kept going. So to every veteran still fighting battles nobody sees, you're not weak for needing help. You are not forgotten. And your story, it is not over.